Gohands, Gohands, Gohands. My gosh. Yes, just got done with the third episode of The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again today, and I can honestly say, knock it off with the establishment shots. We don't need half the show to be establishment shots. I get that they're in a city. That's what establishment shots do, and I've already established that. You have nailed that purpose. But no, honestly, putting aside Gohan's attempt to, I don't know, advertise this show to video game makers that, hey, we can make your open world cityscape CGI cutscenes. I don't know what they're doing here. All I can imagine is there's a bunch of guys sitting around a room and Gohan's going, man, we made this amazing establishment shot in this metropolis area. And everybody's looking at it and going, oh, sugoi, let's use it for the show. Because we don't want to adapt the damn manga. God forbid we actually adapt the manga and the story and the characters, what they're doing. No, let's spend half the first episode showing a cityscape. Oh gosh. Anyways, that aside, now that I've got that off my chest, now let's talk about The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again today. Which honestly, after the first episode, they chilled out. I'll be perfectly honest, they chilled out. Second, third episode, a lot more about the actual story itself, and I love it so far. I think it is absolutely wholesome, but again, this is my first impressions of the first 3 episodes, so let's jump into it. The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again today opens up with Saku Fukuzawa. And Saku has a very interesting cat, Yukichi. Yukichi is a massive, human-sized, if not more-sized cat that does everything for her. He's pretty much a house husband, doing all the cleaning, doing the laundry, cooking dinner, cooking lunch, everything. This guy is taking care of everything. And through some backstory, we find out that yes, at some point, it was actually a normal-sized cat. She found it in this park, brought it in, warmed it up, took care of it, and it just kept growing. It just kept growing. So yes, early on, it's kind of this big question mark of like, wait, how big do cats get? Is this normal? I don't know that my cat is normal. I don't think its size is its biggest issue. I think it's more the fact that it has the intelligence of a human. I think that's the part that we need to figure out first. But yeah, she's going about her daily routine. Yukichi wakes her up, cooks her breakfast, sets her some lunch, sends her on her way. We find out from Yukichi's perspective that he takes a lot of pride in taking care of Saku. He sort of kind of phrased it in the way that it's sort of a give and take, like I need her to do good at work so that she brings home money, so that she gets me cat food. I need that precious can of cat food, and if she gets fired, I'm not gonna have those cat foods anymore, so I gotta take care of her, keep her straight. And you see that a lot. Like you have this one moment early on where she was being taken home by one of her coworkers, and Yukichi just literally opens the door, comes out and smacks her across the face and apologizes and drags her back into the place. Like I said, there is quite a bit of a give and take aspect here. But you do get a sense from Yukichi's perspective that he does like that she praises him for what he cooks and all that kind of stuff. You get a sense of how hard he went through this whole process of learning different things to cook for her. He learned how to cook, got a how-to cookbook, learned all these recipes. Anything that she'll find tasty, he finds joy in it. So you'll see whenever she does praise him, his tail wags and he got that little blush going on. Yukichi doesn't seem like the most depressed cat. This seems like a very happy cat, just doesn't want to admit what he's enjoying about his life, which is taking care of Saku and whatever praise she gives back at him for taking care of her. Because yes, let's be perfectly clear, if you watch this show, Saku would be lost without Yukichi. Her apartment was a pigsty on everything. And over time we find out that yes, one of her coworkers seems to have a hint that Yukichi is special in a way because he did kind of witness this whole thing of him coming out of the house and slapping her. We had a brief scene where we seen this local market where Yukichi goes and actually shops at. Most everybody, when they see Yukichi walking around, they assume that it's probably like a costume or something like that. One of the coworkers is kind of mad they're letting this guy come in when he has this costume on. He's distracting the other customers. But we know, of course, that it is actually a massive cat. And it kind of gets in this goofy thing where one of her coworkers gives her a gift for a cat, which is this small little house that he can sleep inside of. And of course, he just sticks it on his head because that's the only part that can fit in it. And he bakes something to have Saku give in return. And so now this makes everybody in her workplace believe that she's a really good cook and that she'd make a great wife. So now she's like determined to learn how to cook because she wants to kind of meet that lie halfway at least. And that's pretty much where we're leaving it so far. So my thoughts on The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again today. Again, to get the visual aspects aside, yes, I do hate how much establishment shots they have in the first episode. Again, the first 4.5 minutes of the show was just the cityscape, which in the original manga, it jumps directly from the point that she leaves her home to being at work. And so you are padding a lot with gohands wanting everybody to know how great they are at CGI, and they're not. And I've always hated whenever gohands does that, especially with the 2 shows this season. The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses and this one is sort of the adaptation being more about gohands than the actual show itself. The cars and stuff don't look good. Now, putting that aside, because we've beat that horse to death at this point, the rest of the use of CGI I don't mind. I hate the really bad perspective shots for sure, like camera underneath people's feet as they're walking around. They did the same in The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses. But everything else I like. Like the whole scene where he's dragging her through the room and stuff like that, it does look fine. What I've always liked visually about gohands is I love their character designs and attention to detail. That's one of the sad things that has always been with gohands. Despite my frustration with them overusing CGI, it sort of detracts from what they're good at, which is character designs, it's hair, it's animation. They do a really good job within those boundaries. And yes, some of that use of CGI is very clever and works, when it doesn't distract too much from the characters themselves. When the characters are at the center, it looks good. I've always liked gohands. I've been a massive defender of gohands ever since K-series, but I can't admit when they take things a little bit too far. Visuals aside, let's get into the show itself. I really do like this show. I have a huge kick out of Yukichi and Saku's relationship, this little chemistry between the two of them, Saku being the deadbeat, but at the same time also the breadwinner, the one that's supporting the house itself financially, and then having, yes, sort of the house husband, which is Yukichi. The interesting thing that is in this dynamic is the idea that they can't really communicate. Yes, he understands what she says, but she can't really get anything out of him. He usually has to sort of point to something, or he just stays silent altogether. But you do get in his expression and how he acts, and yes, his tale, how he likes certain situations or doesn't like certain situations. He gets grumpy, he gets mad at her, he corrects her, but at the same time, he gets joyous whenever he sees that she's indulging in something that he's providing her. Even though he doesn't want to actively admit it, he does like their time together, and he does appreciate being appreciated. They have a really cute chemistry, and I love the little bond between them, even though you have these certain points in which Yukichi in his own mind is thinking about, well, if she does get fired, because I don't know how this job ever hired her before because she's such a slob, I'll have to move on to somewhere else. But you know that deep down inside, he doesn't want to do that. This is an individual, let's just call him an individual, that doesn't want to part with Saku. He does appreciate her. He does like being around her. And I love how that kind of transitioned to Saku and how she acts at work itself, because there's kind of a small portion of this story that is her in the workforce. Whatever he does support her from a distance, being mostly in what he cooks her, is something that's creating question marks in the workforce itself. Everybody assumes that either she's married and somebody's making her lunch, or she's really good at cooking and she's a perfect wife. And she's kind of afraid because she doesn't want to admit that she has this gigantic cat at home. She doesn't want to claim that she's married, but she doesn't want to lie that she can cook because she can't cook. They even have this whole segment where she's trying to learn how to cook, and she literally brings out like a flamethrower mask, protection mask, and a fire hydrant and everything. She's got looks going for her and personality, but she ain't got nothing else going for her for being a wife. But again, that makes that chemistry between the two of them so fantastic. But I will admit that most of the stuff around work hasn't been that entertaining. Most of the entertainment of the show is around Yukichi whenever he's present in the scene. Even though he seems very human-like, he does have those characteristics of a cat. Like the fact that he likes to lay on top of Saku when she's sleeping, and so she's there gasping for breath when he's this massive thing on top of her. Or even the more wholesome moments, like when he kind of wraps himself around her when she's sick. It's got that nice balance between the goofy kind of shenanigans of this couple and all these little heartwarming moments at the same time. When she first rescued him, how he takes care of things that she can't seem to take care of herself. Him concerned with her health, fighting to keep her home when she's sick. Yes, him slapping her across the face as a tiny cat when she pretty much insults herself in front of her coworker. So many points already in the show I've been smiling from ear to ear. Him pushing her to go to work when she doesn't want to go to work because she has too many meetings, and he just like, he hugs her to kind of console her, gives her all of her stuff, and just pushes her out the door. It's so cute. There have been times where the show kind of drags a little bit. I think a lot of the moments where it's Yukichi and he's just alone, and it has like these very small segmented like shorts, I think a lot of those points it's very hit and miss. I've had times where it's going through those little segments where it's got his inner dialogue and these kind of kanji on the screen, and he's talking about these basic concepts. Those are the parts where I think it kind of drags. I think, again, where I think the nugget of gold in the show is is the chemistry between the two of them. But yeah, overall, like I said, despite like half of the first episode seemingly just being nothing but CGI establishment shots, beyond that, this show has been really good. I've been really, really enjoying it. And like I said, it's chilled out a lot on the CGI shots, and it's kind of focused itself on the characters, and that's where the gold is. I think this show is just super wholesome. I've been enjoying it immensely, and I highly recommend it. But that's my thoughts on the Masterful Cat is depressed again today. We're still trying to figure out when he's depressed, but we'll see eventually, hopefully. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what's thought of the series so far if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. It means so much to me. And y'all take care. No, Yuki, I'm not talking about you. My dog's name is Yuki.